welcome everyone. My name is, if this is working, there we go. My name is Nicki Repenning. I'm the founder and CEO of Honeycomb Aeronautical. Honeycomb Aeronautical is actually based right here in San Diego, up the road at Montgomery Field Executive Airport. And normally when we have friends and family visiting, we always say it's always sunny San Diego, and nobody believes us because whenever we have visitors, it's gray like it is today. So I apologize for that. I promise it's usually always sunny here. So my background is I have almost 50 years of experience in flight simulation. I've been a real pilot since 2011, and I'm currently working on my instrument rating up at Miramar College, which is, by the way, up where Top Gun used to be. Luckily for me, the requirements are not as stiff as they were back then. So what I want to talk about is how flight simulation, and especially consumer flight simulation products, software and hardware, can actually have a real impact on real aviation. So, if you look besides from the situation with COVID and airline closed down routes and all that stuff because of lack of demand, we actually have a real problem in real aviation that there's going to be a lack of almost 800,000 pilots between now and the mid-30s. And how are we going to get those? Because, we're not really funneling new people in. The foundation of flight training, general aviation, is dying. Whenever I go to club meetings up here at our local flying club, the average age up there is somewhere between 70 and 80 years old, and it takes no genius to figure out that most of those guys will be flying with their own wings in a few years from now. So we need fresh blood, not flesh blood. Another thing that we're seeing is that flights are being canceled because there are no pilots to fly them. We even had a local airline up at Palomar Airport north of here that closed down operations completely because they were not able to operate their flights because there weren't any pilots. So what are we going to do about this? Well, we need some short-term solutions to figure out how we fix it right now, but we also need some long-term solutions to turn this trend around. And the problem is that the romance of flying is dead. The Pan Am days where it was, aspiring to become a pilot is not there, and it's been killed by low wages, by strict schedules or tight schedules, and no appreciation for the job that was being done, and they basically became glorified bus drivers. So there's a need to take a spin, and the kids of our next generation of kids needs to understand how amazing it is to fly, whether it is on a simulator or whether it's on a real aircraft. So first we have to change the approach to flight training. Almost 60% of all student pilots never get their check right and actually become pilots. And those are all people that want to be pilot and not achieve that goal. So how can we get that percentage up? Well, it's proven that home training devices can cut cockpit time by almost 50%. Last time we had the FlightSimExpo in Orlando, there was a conference after the FlightSimExpo where industry people were talking about some of these problems and what have been done. And there was a flight school owner from Torrance at Samperini Field that told a story that they did an experiment where they gave every student pilot a yoke and a throttle to take home, and they had to fly the syllabus every lesson before they actually flew the real flight. And what happened was, well, first, their pass rate went up from 60 to 80% immediately. But not only that, their actual flying time, average flying time in the cockpit went from 78 hours to 40 hours average. And there was even students, I should say, that did it in the minimum 35 hours that a Part 141 school is allowed to. 35 hours, just by training at home. And it's not just for student pilots, it's also for real pilots. I mean, not everybody has this sunny San Diego weather that I claim we have, you know, if you live in Connecticut and you're a VFR pilot, half of the year you're not going to be flying. So you can stay, you can't do your currency, but you can get your proficiency by flying at home. That means when you get back to the cockpit, you do your binary flight review, you're actually ready, able, capable of flying that aircraft. For a couple of $100, what 1 hour in the cockpit costs. So we need to focus on saving hours, not logging hours. You know, whenever we go to real air shows like Oshkosh or Sun and Fun and so on, every 10 minutes somebody will walk up to me and say, can I log hours in this? And the answer is, at least at this point, no. And then they scruff and then they walk out and there because it's beneath them, then it's a toy. But it really isn't. It is a real tool. Yeah, there's products out there that are, you know, in different quality levels. There's really high-end stuff and some really low-end stuff. But the key here is, you know, for your private pilot's license, you can log 2.5 hours. So unless you can do it in 35 hours, which, you know, except for those kids, nobody can do, it doesn't matter. For your instrument rating, depending on how advanced the simulator is, you can log either 10 or 20 hours. But again, nobody does it in these hours, so it doesn't matter. But if you have a yoke and a throttle at home and you fly those approaches, whether it's non-proficient approaches or precision approaches, ILS, GPS, holding patterns, or whatever you're doing, then you learn it. You learn the muscle memory of it. You learn to fly it. And not only are you saving thousands of dollars in your training, but you also become a better pilot. And you stay a better pilot. So that this arrogance about if it's not loggable, it's not real, needs to go away. And then we need to focus on the next generation that funnels in. And for that, I'm really, really proud to make this announcement right here today that Honeycomb will be opening up the Flight Sim Academy right here in San Diego. The Flight Sim Academy is an initiative to change the funnel of students coming into aviation and also keep current pilots flying. So the first chapter will be launching here in San Diego in Q4, and it will be a sim academy that will have 16 simulators set up, and they will be absolutely free to use for both student pilots, for any flight school. If you have a pilot's license, a student pilot's license, or you're an operator of a flight school, you can come in and you can use these facilities absolutely free of charge. Just go onto the online booking system and book your place. But that's only half of it. That's helping with, you know, those that don't have a cockpit at home, that don't have a simulator solution at home. Well, they can come to us and they can fly the syllabus for absolutely free to achieve those goals that we just talked about. But the other thing that we really want to focus on is making the facilities available for high schools and for junior high schools, for STEM programs, for weekly classes. So we'll be working with the San Diego Unified School District to offer this to all high schools, junior highs. And basically they can come in and either do like a 3-hour introduction to aviation where they learn about what it takes to choose an aviation career path, and sit and fly in the simulators, which I know once you get kids in the simulators, they're sold, right? It's fun. I mean, that's why you all are here, because it's fun. But also give availability to book weekly classes. If there's high schools out there that are really serious about aviation programs, well, then they can book a weekly class that they have the same slot every week and use the facilities. And this is, you know, kind of a test facility. In 2024, we've been working with Crown Air, which is the FBO, the fixed base operator up at the airport, and they're building a brand new general aviation hub with flight school, flight club, pilot store, and the Flight Sim Academy will be a big part and integrated into that hub. But that's only the first step. The plan is to do this in San Diego, and then we'll do questions afterwards. Is that okay? Yeah. In San Diego, but our plan is to multiply this once the proof of concept has been done, and replicate this in the 30 biggest metropolitan area in America, and that way basically give almost every kid in America access to try this out and choose an aviation career. So what else can be done? Well, first of all, we've got to change the system and how the approach to flight training is right now. The FAA's rules around what you can use for proficiency or currency and what you can use for flight training is very strict. It's very difficult. Those simulators that are built units, if any one thing breaks, that unit is out of commission, you have to send it back to the manufacturer or they have to come repair it. It's very costly, it's very ineffective. So we want the FAA to adopt this kind of home training into the syllabus. Say, you got to do this lesson at home. And it can easily be tracked. I mean, imagine if every student had a little memory stick that he put in his computer when he does the training lesson, and the stick records, X, Y, and Z axis of flying, how, feet per minute, airspeed, location, all that stuff. And when he comes back to his instructor, he plugs it into his computer, and it gives you analysis of how his flight did at home. So you don't have to have an instructor sitting next to you to do these things. You can sit at home and practice at home, and then it can be evaluated, which again saves time and money, right? Because you don't have to pay for the instructor sitting next to you during that time. And then he can look at, wait, he's pretty weak on this part of his training, but he's very strong on this. So next time we go up in the cockpit, we'll focus over here. Instead of going up in the air and then figuring out where you have to add more focus. So it's just a much more effective system. But this is not something we can do alone. The Flight Sim Academy in San Diego, Honeycomb is funding 100%, and we're also funding all flight sim equipment to all 30 centers. We're donating to the centers. It's going to be run as a nonprofit, so it's not a Honeycomb initiative. It's an industry initiative that we just started, and it's not just us, and we can't do it by ourselves. But we've talked to AOPA, they're very interested in participating. We talked to the EAA, which, by the way, Honeycomb is the official flight sim partner of the EAA, and they're on board, they want to do stuff. But we've got to change those rec and syllabus so you can integrate this home training, as I just said. So for that, we need the FAA on board. And of course, for the very young ones, the young eagles, get kids into it right at the get-go. And then last but not least, of course, we've got to work with the airlines. Those are the ones that are really going to need the pilots. So if you can build all these things together as a homogeneous kind of unit, then I think we can really, really achieve some big things. And I went to the AOPA STEM Symposium 2 years ago in Denver, and everybody was there, from the Air Force to Boeing to American Airlines to really, really big organizations. And 303 high school teachers showed up. There's 26,000 high schools in America. So to say that that's just a drop in the ocean, I think is an understatement. And so we're doing this because we don't think that trying to push a flight sim program into every school and put a flight sim room in every high school in the US is a solution that you can do over 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 years. It's just, the task is too daunting. But if you build a center in every metropolitan area, then you can reach all of those 26,000 high schools with lots less funding and in a lot quicker time. So, what's Honeycomb's role in this? Well, we feel that our part is creating the right tools so that they have flight training level, affordable equipment available to them to use at home. Our products, so we never develop a product completely by ourselves. We go out and say, if we have a specific part that we look at, like the mechanical movement of the yoke, well, if we had to figure out how to make the best one by ourselves, we could take years and millions in development. But instead we go out and say, who do we think is the best in the market for this? So for example, on our Alpha yoke and the new Alpha XPC, which is the one you're seeing there, the mechanical engineering is done by Precision Flight Control, which have over 30 years of experience making simulators everywhere from a BATD up to a $500,000 level D simulator. So that's their experience that's in there. When we do software, we work with Aerosoft and other companies that are the best in the business for doing this, because if we want to bring the best to the market, but also make it affordable, we can't develop everything from the ground up ourselves. We have to ask for help. Home sim solution, yeah. So we right now, our whole product roadmap is much bigger than I can show you right now, but the idea is that you basically have a complete solution at home, but affordable. Your whole cockpit, but not something where you have to build a wooden frame or anything, something that's modular, easily to do and set up. Both for the flight enthusiast, but also for the real world pilots. It basically, the people that are flying, it doesn't matter if you never intend on sitting in a real cockpit ever, or if you're a student pilot, or you're a commercial pilot. It's like, the things you do are the same, the procedures you do are the same, the things that you love are the same. You're doing the same thing. There's no real difference there. Whenever I travel, I've never, and sit in an airport hotel and there's a pilot coming in after 8 hours flying, he's never too tired to talk about airplanes, I guarantee you that, 100%. And I often hear about pilots that come home from work after flying the whole day and they say, honey, I'll be in my office flying a little bit more on the simulator. I've never seen a carpenter come home and say, honey, I'll be in the garage hammering in some more nails. So, as we talked about the arrogance, flight training, logging hours, we got to change in industry standards and perception and approach to flight training to really achieve this. So we are developing a modular flight training system. All our products will be configurable to cater to the aircraft type. And if you know our product, the Bravo throttle quadrant is a good example of where you can set it up for anything from a single engine to a complex jet aircraft and within minutes. And everything else that we currently have in development to get to a whole flight training solution is following that principle that it has to work for every type of pilot out there, not just one. It has to be affordable, even for student pilots, and you have to be able to do it gradually. It isn't like, oh, you have to buy these 3 or 4 units before you really have something. You can gradually build up what you want when you're financially able to it. And then, of course, offer turnkey solutions to high schools, flight schools, aeronautical universities at a fraction of the cost of what they cost now. I mean, even the most basic BATD on the lowest level and quality is almost 10 grand, right? I mean, it's not affordable for schools. And as I said, if one thing breaks, the whole damn thing is broken. So we are planning to bring a market-leading advanced training device to the market by end of 2022. And it's gonna be cheaper than anything else on the market right now. Also, it's because of our modular system, it'll have replaceable modules. The yoke breaks? Well, buy one from a web store or from Sporties and poof, pop it in. You have a new yoke. Screen breaks or whatever, throttle, lever, just call us, we'll send you a new one. You're up and running in one day. There's no need for technicians. It's just a USB plug that you have to plug in. So, and it will be the only ATD that's certified for multiple type of aircraft. Right now, any training devices, it's a Cessna, or it's a multi-engine, or it's a G1000, or it's a steam gauge cockpit, but there's no flexibility. It is what you bought, is what you're getting, no. But this one will be able to be set up just like the Bravo throttle for single engine, for multi-engine, turboprops, whatever. I doubt we'll get certified for jets, but I'm hoping. But I believe that this is going to be a big change to, again, for everything I just talked about, to execute that and be more efficient at it. Here, by the way, that's a school in Lakeland, Florida, by our son and Funness, where we donated 30 simulators to the Central Florida Aviation Academy that's used for the high school, but also for Civil Air Patrol. And I've been over there a couple of times, and it's awesome to see 30 kids sitting in a classroom and just loving flying. So that was the end of the first part. Before I take questions, I just want to show you just quickly what new products you can anticipate to see here at the show, and then I'll take questions from all of you. So This one you probably heard about, but I don't think you've actually seen the final picture. So this is the Alpha Flight Control XPC. So this is the updated version of the Alpha Flight Control. And our philosophy is we're never done with the product. So we bring a product to market when we are able or we feel that there is technological advances, we will develop and make new versions of it so that we follow the latest capabilities that is in the market or what the software offers and so on. So a few changes is the, well, you can see the whole grille is square now where it was rounded off for, so there's a little bit of industrial design change. The ignition key is spring-loaded now, like a real ignition key. And the sensors have been updated to Hall effect sensors with 400% better resolution on both axes. And it will be retailing at $299, and it will be compatible with both Xbox and PC and Mac. So more usability, more functions, better resolution, better sensors. The other thing we're coming out with is also an Xbox Hub. And the Xbox Hub enables you to use non-Xbox certified products with the Xbox. And the products that are going to be compatible is the current Bravo throttle quadrant, as well as the Charlie rudder pedals that are coming out in a couple of months from now. We've also entered a partnership with Logitech so that their rudder pedals and their throttle quadrant, USB throttle quadrant, will also be able to be hooked up to this, to the Xbox Hub and through the Alpha XPC, recognizable by the Xbox. So we did this partnership because we wanted to bring some affordable solution, different price level of people can afford into the market. So we talked to Logitech, they agreed, and so that just gives you guys more choices to choose from. Then we have the Tango Foxtrot, which we'll be displaying at the show here. It has some really, really cool features. I can't go into all of them, but if you stop by at the show, I'll be happy to tell you all about the different features and functions, but it's a really, really cool product. Then for the Tango Foxtrot, we'll be coming out with a telescopic table mount. It's a metal core with nylon reinforced fiber, so it's a really, really strong construction, but basically a telescopic mount so you can have below the table mounting points for both the throttle and the stick. If you prefer to have something more integrated into your chair, then we're coming out with a Lima flight chair. The flight chair will have normal armrest, but will also come with integrated stick and throttle platforms in the armrest that are adjustable. It works with all our products and actually clicks in magnetically so they can't fall out, but also have inserts so you can use any stick and throttle from any manufacturer out there and work with this chair. Then I know a lot of you have been anticipating a Charlie rudder pedal. The final version will be here at the show. You can demo and try it out before we start pre-order. In about a month and a half, we'll start pre-orders on it and then shipping early next year. The center console, we just completed development on it. It was quite difficult to get the attachment done to the Bravo without causing damage to it, or people potentially causing damage to it, or not being able to take it off again. So we're just finalizing that, but I know a lot of people are waiting for that too. Then another product that is shipping now is the GA trim wheel. So it's a trim wheel cover for the current trim wheel on the Bravo, made out of silicone rubber. It not only does it give it a more general aviation feel, but also it gives it a little bit more friction, so it feels more like a general aviation trim wheel. And then, last but not least, we're bringing out some accessories from left to right. We have the XL clamps. This is something that, we're really trying to listen to what you guys are asking for. And a lot of people said the clamps are not large enough for figure tables, so we developed these XL clamps that are also available just about now. On the other side, on the right side, we have the dust cover, which is also something that people ask for, so you can cover your Alpha or your Bravo when you're not using them and collecting all that dust in all the slots and caresses and so on. And it's compatible with both, so it's designed to fit exactly both units, so it looks nice next to each other. And then the last thing, which is brand new, is our high-powered flight sim USB hub that we've designed specifically for flight simmers' needs, because we noticed that most hubs out there they don't work well with flight sim equipment, because a lot of them, like for example, if you have the Logitech flight instrument panel, well, that draws a lot more power than a normal USB hub can. So this is a 30-watt externally powered 6-port USB hub. And we tested it with pretty much any accessory out there, flight sim accessory, make sure that your products don't go down or flicker or do anything. And then, last but not least, our big reveal for the show, but not till tomorrow, so you'll get a little glimpse of it. But Honeycomb is announcing that we're stepping into military flight simulation as well. With the Sigma Tau stick and throttle, it will have some incredible functionality that's never been done. Technology used that never been done on any flight sticks, military or civilian, before. It has some really, really, really cool stuff that I can't tell you about right now, because the stick alone is coming out in Q1, but the throttle, which will have most of these advanced new features that are really, really, really cool, are not coming out till Q2, and we don't want to give the competition a heads up on what we're boiling on. So you'll have to wait a little bit longer for that, but I promise you, it is going to be awesome. And with that, we're over to Q&As. If anybody has questions, then I'll be more than happy to. And these two guys are.
Nicki, I'm just going to start with a question from the online audience at 7 here in the back as they get some microphones sent out. Can you clarify a little bit about exactly what will be plug and play? We've got some questions around what the existing Alpha will work with as far as the Xbox. There's questions about whether some of the existing products will be fully plug and play with FSX. Can you just talk a little bit about that for us?
So the current Alpha is not compatible with Xbox. We worked with Microsoft really hard to do it because we wanted to give our existing customers the ability to use it. But the way Xbox works is that every Xbox licensee has to buy these called Infinium encryption chips, security chips, and integrate it into your electronics board. And so when you plug any product into an Xbox, the Xbox will request a encryption code from that chip. And if the product doesn't give that code back, the Xbox rejects the product. So we looked at putting that chip into the hub instead and then have everything attached to that. But we discovered together with Microsoft a serious security problem that if you did that, anybody could replicate what's called a vendor ID and a product ID, and basically plug any product you wanted into, anything from a PlayStation to a PC controller to whatever you can think of into that, and the Xbox would accept it. And that was just too big a risk for Microsoft to do, so we couldn't do it with the existing Xbox. Now, the XPC Alpha is a PC and an Xbox product. So we didn't want to create a product that looked like a gaming product that had like colorful yellow, red, orange buttons and so on. We wanted something that stayed true to a cockpit. So as you can see in the picture and as you'll be able to test at the booth, it looks, there's no, the only way you can see that it's actually an Xbox compatible product is it has that little Xbox Helix button down in the corner. But other than that, it is completely true. But it works. On Xbox, it will be pre-programmed, so it's plug and play. So actually, every product that will be compatible with Xbox will be plug and play because that's basically the only way you can do it. So Microsoft will program and verify that everything works. So from our side, it's the Alpha, XPC, the Bravo throttle quadrant, the Charlie rudder pedals, at this point at least. And then from Logitech, it's their Flight throttle quadrant and their Flight rudder pedals that will be compatible from day one. Does that answer the question? All right, who's up next? Yep.
Hi, my name's Ron. I've got a simulation problem.
Hi, Ron.
Hi. So, first off, I'm super excited about this because not just the products, which are great. I actually got a degree at Embry-Riddle based on this very topic because I entered into flight simulation back in the 80s. I'm now a commercial pilot. Hopefully by the end of the year, be a flight instructor. And I really believe in this, and I've been laughed at by, well, all of the flight instructors. Probably at your club. I'm willing to bet we fly
Plus
in the same.
one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They've all laughed at me. So at any rate, I would like to volunteer to help as a club member and friend. I've also got a curriculum that I wrote for exactly this that you're welcome to laugh at. I just wanted to say thank you and thank everybody here. It's my first time at the expo. This is kind of the power of it, right? It brings us all together. So just again, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, come see me after and we'll talk. We can use all the volunteers we need. And by the way, the one we're doing right now is going to be in the same building as Embry-Riddle is by Montgomery Field. All right, who's up next? Yep.
Hi, Nicky John Speranza, C3 Aero.
Hey, good to see you, bud.
I was wondering, you know, you talked a lot about the outreach for new pilots, bringing younger people into aviation. I'm wondering, other than the academy, which you talked
Can you put the microphone a little bit closer up?
Other than
Sorry.
the academy,
There you go.
That's much better. Other than the academy that you talked about, I'm wondering what kind of outreach, if any, that you've done to flight instructors. As the last person who asked a question noted, there's a lot of cultural inertia against it. And having been a flight instructor for 11 years, they don't provide us any training in terms of how to use simulators effectively and how it's going to be different than training in an airplane. So I'm hoping you can speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, we actually very early on reached out to NAFI, which is National Association of Flight Instructors. And at that time, the leadership that was handling was the president, I believe his name was Jason Blair. He was all on board and we wanted to do all these things together. And then he stepped down and some other leadership took over. And since then, it's been very, very difficult to get a dialogue going. But it's something that is on our agenda. It's something we want to do. It's just, you know, we're hitting very few walls, but that's one of the walls that we've been hitting. So, but if you have, again, any help, we're more than happy to take it. Yes? Okay, that one. And then we got one down here as well.
Hi, Nicky.
Hey,
first of all, thank you for your business philosophy. I know that you're not just putting out product, but as you've demonstrated already, is you're working with the training world as well, trying to help that aspect of the company. But one question I have, I've seen over the last several months, maybe a year or so, there's been a real challenge in getting support issues resolved, and I know a lot of that has to do with supply chain. But the other thing that I see that has not really been so prevalent, but I could see it coming down, is do you have plans for establishing some sort of supply chain for replacement parts? Like, for example, my number 4 throttle is not working. Do you have a replacement I can get for that?
Yes, actually, we have replacement part at our office that we can send out. So I'm surprised if you asked for it that they didn't just send one out to you.
I'm sorry. This is I broke it. It's not a
No, that's fine. But
type.
you can still call us, and we can still. We even have on our website. We have every single lever and spare part on there that you could buy for anything from $5 to $10 or whatever.
Okay, I was not able to find
Yeah.
that when I
But
looked earlier.
let's address the other problems that you're absolutely 100% right about. So we definitely have had communication and tech support issues. And one of the issues is that it's not an excuse, but we are a young organization, right? The Alpha came out in October 2019, the Bravo came out in October 2020. And then Microsoft Flight Simulator came out and the market exploded. And we were, as an organization, not geared to handle that. And so we were kind of running behind the ball constantly, realizing how many support tickets we would have. And sometimes it would just blow up. Like if we'd had, you know, everybody's heard about the chip shortages that's going on, which affected us as well. So when we didn't have a batch coming in, then every single one of those 2,000 people or whatever who got out of that batch will send a support ticket. It's like, when is my product shipping? And it's bogging down the system for the people who actually have real technical problems. But we hired more tech support people. We hired people to handle both forums, online, social media, to engage more. So we're catching up. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But we're listening to you guys, and we're making an effort to be better than we are now. Where are we? That one, yep. Or here, I don't know.
Hi, another simulator problem. The rudder pedals that are coming out, would you happen to know if they fit the Volair Sim pits?
I don't know, but if you go on our support side, there's actually dimensions and a PDF with the actual dimensions of the Charlie rudder pedals on there, so you can be able to measure it yourself.
That was
But
easy.
off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I think it does, but it's a little finagly. I think that's the one we had at Oshkosh, and it kind of got it in. So
Yeah, that's a hard one to find rudder pedals that fit correctly down there.
it's pretty big, but it also is so big because it needs to have the weight, and it has like big rubber pads on the bottom so that it doesn't slip, because who doesn't have rudder pedals that slips? And it also has carbon spikes, so that's one of the problems we really wanted to solve. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, sir, it does. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Nikki, I got another question from online, if that's okay, and then
Yeah.
we'll go to the front from Tom. Have you considered an upgrade program for customers, allowing people to keep on upgrading their equipment, trade-ins, that kind of thing?
Yes, we have considered that. We haven't found a solution to it yet, because it's like, if we have a trade-in program, let's say somebody wants to upgrade to an Alpha XPC from an Alpha, then we don't have a way to refurbish and channels to resell those units yet. But we are talking about it, we're considering it, we are looking at options, because we want to support. We don't want to have somebody sit and have to buy another yoke, because there's been upgrades. So, and there's plenty of people who only will pay on PC. So yes, we're thinking about it. Yes, we're looking into it. No, we do not have a solution at this point.
Okay. Hi, I'm Chester. I'm a current flight student at Coast Flight Training, and I see that you guys are currently working with Crown Air, so I'm wondering if you guys will work with our flight school or not, just in case if I become a
Oh,
flight
I know
instructor.
Coast. I know you have 3 simulators with SciTech yokes on up at the training room.
Oh, yeah, 3, and then we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
like...
I've been up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
so
a small trainer.
yeah, I was actually thinking of coming over and talk to you guys, because you should have better equipment.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. There's one more down there. Oh, and right here as well.
I just have a question about the new yoke that you just mentioned. Is that available to buy here tomorrow?
No, not yet. The product's done. We're actually in the tooling phase right now. So injection tooling are these massive things that weighs about 1 metric tons. It costs $250,000 for one injection tooling, and it takes about 3 months to make one. Actually, if you spread the tooling out for the yoke over this, it will fill up the whole stage. That's how big they are. And so we're in the tooling phase right now. We're about a couple weeks in, so we expect first shot of injection shots in November. Then there's 3 stages before you go into mass production. There's what's called cosmetic samples, DVT samples. Then there's EVT samples, which is engineering, make sure that everything electronically works. We have all these machines that will test, push a button 1 million times until it breaks. So we have a breaking point on every single component on the product, so that when we hand it over to you, we know this will last this long. It's not just like, well, we think. No, we know how long it's going to last. So this takes a little long, but Q1 2022 is our plan to get it out.
Okay.
And we will never, I would love to have it out now, but we'll never rush a product to market and cut corners. That's just, we know that we were going to lose business to others, but that's not our business model. Okay. So I'm sorry, I would love to bring it out now, but it's like,
That's all
I would
right.
rather bring a better product out in January.
I can wait. That's cool. The other question I have is on that extension for the keyboard or the mouse that connects under the throttles.
Yeah.
Will that work with my existing one I just purchased?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So if you turn your Bravo around, you can see all these cones for the screw holes that are about 20 millimeters deep.
Okay.
So it will basically fit into that. We're just trying to figure out a non-invasive way of doing that right now. But the product design is completely done. It actually swivels in under the table when you're done with it, so it doesn't stick out
nice.
anymore. It's a really nice product. And it comes with both a pad for your mouse if you want to use for that, or you can take it out and have a little insert, and it will work with your iPad mini or your 8-inch Samsung tablet as well. So it has inserts for those if you use it for an FMC or whatever.
Is that available here this weekend too, or is not
No,
out
so
yet?
we're just, as I said, we're just finalizing how it attaches to that
Okay.
Bravo, because first we wanted to take the screws out that was in there and then re-screw, but there's, I think they're called self-carving screws or something like that. So every time you take them out, it kind of diminishes the groove a little bit, and so it works, but we're just not satisfied with it, so we're just re-engineering a little bit to make it better. But again, yeah, Q1 should be ready.
Thank you.
One more online question, and then we'll continue with the folks in the room. This is from Aaron on Skyward Flight Media. With there being a force feedback yoke at the show, obviously not yours, will there be any other military flight simulation hardware from Honeycomb that will include force feedback in the future?
I think we already said at earlier shows that we are working on a force feedback yoke. We are. Again, our philosophy is that everything has to be affordable. And I think the cheapest force feedback yoke on the market right now is like $1,200 or $1,300, and that's not affordable. So we're looking at bringing force feedback yokes to the market in the range below $500. And so that's very difficult. But I'm hoping, again, and our development partners Precision Flight Controls on this as well, because they are the leading expert in this field. And they're far along. I'm hoping that we can announce a product before Christmas and with a timeline for production. Yep.
Hello, Nikki. Thanks for taking my question.
Of course.
Big fan of your company, and thank you for the discussion today. It was a very interesting topic. I was intrigued in the concept of the Flight Sim Academy, and that would be free to interested young aviators. And I just want to understand if there was any revenue model for that at all, or is that purely funded?
Zero. No revenue model. This is purely a mission to make changes because we see a path that we're able to. And I believe strongly that if you see something that you're able to make a difference in something, you should grab it and run with it. So there's no revenue model. It's we donate to all the 30 centers. We'll be donating all the equipment. The operations and the computer equipment and screens and so on will be run through a nonprofit that will be funded through the aviation industry. That's the plan. But there's no profit center in this at all, except for the kids that we're buying our equipment for home.
So I did understand it was nonprofit, but also there's no revenue at all. It's entirely funded by these organizations and your company. Is that
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sizzling popcorn here. Got a question about the like you're expanding your product line. What's the status on like the chip shortage, and like how are you managing that?
Poorly, but it's not our fault. So I read all these reports on the car industry, on the chip industry, on factories opening up in Austin, factories opening up in Taiwan, factories burning down in Taiwan. And, it's a very complex situation, a chip shortage. And there's basically two types of technology. It's called, depending on how small the transistors are, there's something called 200 millimeter wafer and 300 millimeter wafer. And a lot of consumer electronics use the old technology that has limited production capabilities, whereas high-tech stuff, cars, etc., use the higher end. But everybody uses everything, and a car can use up to like 300-400 of these microchips in one car. So when COVID came, everybody thought that consumer demand on everything would slow down, and it did the exactly opposite, because suddenly people were not going on vacation anymore, people were not going out to dinner anymore, and they had all this disposable income because they were sitting home bored and they needed entertainment. So they bought video games and flight sim equipment, and they bought cars even though they couldn't drive anywhere. The situation is still so bad that my local dealership I talked to the other day says they're selling cars where they have to set the seats and the steering wheel at the dealership when you get your new car delivered, because the electronics for the seat are not inside. And so if you want to change the seat position, you have to drive back to the dealership again, and they have to manually adjust it again. And that's how bad the situation is. And all reports indicate that we're far from over yet. So they're expecting some easement at the end of this year, but they say for a full recovery, we're talking 2023 probably. What we've done on our website and on social media is that we have created a tracking tool. So if you go on our front page and scroll down, you'll actually see a world map with shipping lanes on it, and it will have dots for every container we're shipping to North America, South America, Australia, Japan, Europe, and England. And so you can see, is inventory going, how much inventory is flowing. So we're trying to keep you up to date on what's going. But this is really a situation that is completely outside our control. A good example is there was a microchip that we use in our Alpha flight control that used to cost 90 cents, and we now pay $9.50 for the same unit. A 40-foot container to LA port from Hong Kong used to cost about $2,500. We pay $20,000 for the same container today. So it is eroding our bottom line, which is diminishing our development capabilities. It's diminishing our ability to hire new people. On top of that, we have import tariffs that was imposed by the government that is making it very, very difficult for us to really put more money into product development and bring more new products out or fund what we're doing. But we're trying, and I think the best we can do right now is keep you informed of what's going on and when we have availability. But we're scouring the market for chips every single day to make more production.
Thank you very much, Nicki. Unfortunately, that'll be all we have time for. But if people have more questions, where can they find you on Saturday and Sunday?
Well, I'll be at the booth all day long, besides from toilet and coffee breaks. So don't be shy, come see me. I'll be happy to show you all the new stuff we're doing and to answer any other questions you might have. I really appreciate you coming by today and listening to me. Thanks a lot.